Global Growth Marketing Virtual Summit brought to you by Mobile Monkey and Growth Marketing Conference. Super excited to have Massimo here joining us all the way from Milan. How are you doing, Massimo, today?
Hey, hello everyone. Very good. Thanks for inviting me. It's 7 p.m. here, so last thing to do before dinner, but really excited.
Awesome. Any other Europeans here who are watching us live? I'm originally from Eastern Europe, from Minsk, Belarus, living in San Francisco. Curious to see if anybody else from Europe here. Okay, and let us know if you guys can hear us well and can see us, obviously, before we go on with the presentation. All right, we got somebody from Poland, Slovenia, UK, international audience. Sounds great. Perfect. Just a couple reminders before we dive into the presentation. This summit is available to you to watch until the end of the business week. But if you would like to watch it on demand, you can always pick up All Access Pass. Just click on that green button. You can learn more information about it. Also, it's brought to you by Mobile Monkey, the world-leading Facebook Messenger and chatbot software. Thanks, Mobile Monkey, for sponsoring this event. And if you have any questions for Massimo, just type them into the chat or hit that big orange button underneath the screen, and we'll pick a few questions to ask Massimo at the very end. And without further ado, Massimo, why don't we jump into your presentation?
Of course, let's start. I will share the slide, and forgive me, guys, but I'll kill the webcam while we screen share, so I'm sure that I have enough bandwidth. All right, share screen, share. There we go. Basil, can you just confirm me you can see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
All right, let's go. So today we are talking about 5 ways to get more leads on Facebook ads. And that's one of my favorite topics. I love lead generation on Facebook, and I'll tell you why in 2 minutes. But before we go there, very quick intro to myself. I'm a nerd, of course. I was the youngest guy indicted in Italy for cyber crimes. So actually I had Juarez BBS before internet here in Italy, and I got busted. After that, I actually was a tech journalist and also spaghetti coder. I still like to write some code, but unluckily I'm too bad at it. So in 2013, I co-founded Adespresso, and I was the CEO. We grew the company from 3 people to actually 50 people. And in 2016, we sold the company to Hootsuite, merging basically the #1 in the Facebook ad space with the #1 in the social part of social media. I will just actually shut down my audio because I'm hearing an echo of my voice, and it's driving me crazy. I hope you can still hear me and you still see the screen. Okay, let's start with lead generation. Before we get to the 5 tips, this is one of the most important things you should be aware of when you are doing anything advertising related on Facebook. Whatever you're doing, the #1 error that I see everyone doing is just creating an ad trying to sell something. So they will just go on Facebook and, hey, buy my $5,000 product. Hell no. People don't go on Facebook to make decisions. We actually go on Facebook to avoid making decisions. Let's be clear. The main reason why everyone goes on Facebook is to watch a cat's picture. And they're not going to buy your product. They're not going to engage with you unless you slowly build a relationship. A relationship that starts with pushing them great content, maybe a blog post, maybe a video, then doing lead generation, positioning yourself as an expert in your field, as the guy who's teaching them, who's helping them achieve success. And at that point, even on Facebook, you can sell them that product. So that's why I love the lead generation topic that much, because it's critical to have success with Facebook advertising. And just a quick summary, you have basically two ways to to get leads on Facebook. The first one is, and I don't know why I have some Italian text in here, sorry guys, in the slides, but basically website ads. This is the standard ad that you see on Facebook all the time. You just have your ad, people click on your ad and they end up on your website or HubSpot, whatever you use for your landing pages and lead generation. It works great. Usually the sweet spot here is desktop. If you are targeting people on their desktop computer, website ads work extremely well. It's also very effective when you are actually, you have a lead magnet, but it's very tough to explain. If your product is non-obvious, or you are asking them a lot of information, it needs a bit of convincing. On your landing page that you control, you have more real estate to explain people why they should sign up. Otherwise, there is another option, still with the wrong slide, I'm sorry. Native lead ads. What are lead ads? Basically, let me jump here actually, since the slide is wrong in Italian. Lead ads is a format that Facebook introduced because lead generation on mobile sucked. Because people were on mobile, they had to load your landing pages, probably they were slow, maybe they were not mobile optimized. So they invented this format where you basically create the form in Facebook, Facebook preload it. So when people click on the ad, directly inside of Facebook, they'll be prompted with a form, and all the information that Facebook already knows will be pre-filled. So it's a great way to generate leads, and it's especially effective when you have a simple offer. As you can see here, you don't have that much space to convince people to leave you their data. And if you are targeting mobile first, which is a must, I will say, given that Facebook is generating 80% of their traffic and revenue from mobile. So my suggestion is always to test both format and see which one works better for you. In terms of cost, I've analyzed our database. We have more than $1 billion ad spent in our database. Let me tell you, there is not a huge difference. Don't expect one or the other format to really move the needle. The cost more or less is aligned. You are going to pay a bit more, a bit less, depending if it's desktop or mobile, but the end result is the same. Another consideration is that the pre-filling of the form is very useful. Sometimes if you are in the B2B market, you might not want to get the email that Facebook pre-fill because usually it's the personal email. So try it out, also see the quality of the email that you are receiving, of the phone number that you are receiving, and then decide whether you want to send them to your own landing page or you want to use native lead ads. And all the suggestions that I'm going to give you during this webinar are based both on experiments that we have been running ourselves, but also on analyzing our $1 billion database. Keep in mind, these are always averages. So whatever you hear about Facebook advertising, try it out for yourself. It's very easy to run an experiment. You don't need $5,000. You can run an experiment with $100. So always validate everything, because maybe in your market, in your industry, in your country, or for your product, for your communication style, there could be differences. All right. So let's see these 5 tips that we have tested to generate more leads. The first one is, of course, always split test. When you're doing lead generation, whatever it's an ebook, a webinar, always test every aspect of your ad. I will focus more on testing the design of the ad, because when we are talking about lead generation, my number 1 suggestion is always to use retargeting. So not reaching out to a cold audience, but reaching out to people that already visited your website. It makes lead generation much, much more effective. So I will focus more on testing the aspect of the design of the ad. And my number 1 recommendation is always test both different examples of the ad. I see too many people getting fixated, like, should I use this text with an emoji at the end or without the emoji? It's an emoji. Yeah, it could attract attention, but it's not going to make a huge difference. Overall, we see this across all our database. The biggest the difference between the two experiments that you are running, the biggest the outcome or the downfall. Of course, when you run an experiment, maybe it's not successful and you get a huge hit in terms of conversion rate. But when you test, first, you always want to try out big differences that can give you a 10x improvement, a 100% boost on your performances. You don't want to test just a little element. On top of this, my recommendation is the two most important elements to test out are the image of your ad. Usually the image is the most impactful element in terms of attracting the user attention, and the text of the ad, so the part above the image. The part below, usually it can get shorted out by Facebook if people are on mobile or not mobile. So it's important to write out something interesting there as well, but usually it makes a lower difference, as well as the call to action. There are differences, and what we have seen personally in terms of lead generation is that the download call to action is the most effective. It's not life-changing. Images and text of the ad are the most important element that you should try out. And usually when I say this to an audience, there is always someone that raises their hands and asks me, hey, but I was reading an article about that company that just changed the color of a button and they achieved this crazy, I don't know, 6,500% improvement just by changing a color or by adding an exclamation mark. I'm sure it happened to someone, maybe 5 years ago when people were not that smart yet, but I can tell you overall, 99% of the time, if you get a huge difference just by changing the color of a button, there is only one option you can achieve this. And that case is if your designer was colorblind. So if it was colorblind and the call to action was blue background and blue text, barely readable, yes, maybe if you change the color of the button or if you change the color of the text, it could have a huge difference. But otherwise, don't expect that just testing the color of the button will make a huge difference. And this is an experiment, for example. Same ebook, we tested two very different tests. And the big difference here is in the image. Even if I've seen millions of different ads, still I cannot predict which ad is going to be a winner. Maybe I can guess 60% of the time. And actually here, from a pure design standpoint, I like the most the ad on the left. It was nicer from my opinion. But actually we tested it. And the ad on the right performed 133% better. It was a huge improvement. And what we discover is that all that empty space, even if it makes the ad a bit less appealing, it really focuses the attention on what is not empty. So remember this when you are testing your ad. Empty is very powerful. White space can really focus the attention. So it's something worth trying out. Once we ran this experiment and we saw that the variation on the right was the winner, then we tested the damn color of the button. And yes, there was a difference. The green button performed 13% better. But what if we hadn't done the first experiment and we had just tested the color of the button, but on the wrong ad? We would be paying our leads 2 times more than we would have with this experiment. So always start with bold experiments. And of course, if you are targeting a cold audience, the same tactics applies to the targeting. Of course, you can split test people that went to Harvard versus people that went to Stanford. There is not going to be a huge difference. There is going to be a difference, of course, but the big difference is women versus men, young people versus older people, people with no education versus people with a PhD. Those are things that at the beginning are more test worthy. Then once you know that higher education people are your best target, you can split test Stanford versus Harvard and get your 5-10% improvement. All right, next one. Match your lead magnet with the retargeting audience. This is another big one. Usually you need to have a bit more traffic, but it can have a huge impact on your performances. So here's what we were doing at the beginning when we started with Adespresso. You will land on our website. We had so many different topics like Instagram ads, Twitter ads, general marketing topics, social media topics. We didn't care. Whatever you were visiting on our website, after an hour, after 2 hours, you will be shown an ad on Facebook saying, hey, you enjoyed our content, why don't you download our ebook? It did work, but then we move it further. So we use different tools and just a bunch. Pixel Caffeine is, we made it, but it's totally free. You don't need an Adespresso subscription. You don't need anything. It's a WordPress plugin. Connect to Retarget is another very good product, which is JavaScript based and works in any website, or you can just ask your developer to send Facebook additional information through the Pixel. With these tools, basically, you can tell Facebook, hey, this user is visiting a web page on my website, but I'm going to tell you more. He's visiting, for example, the Facebook ads blog category. And with this additional information, I can then create a custom audience, so an audience to target based on traffic activity, and tell Facebook, hey, I want an audience with just people that visited a blog post on the Facebook ads category or on the Instagram ads category. And with this, we started doing a lead magnet for every category in our website. And whatever you visited on our website, you will be prompted on Facebook with an ad proposing you a content upgrade, but on the very specific topic that you were reading on the blog. This is an example, for example, from Digital Marketer. As you see, they have very specific lead magnet for very different kind of users. So if you read an article about content marketing, you will see the perfect blog template. If you are more in email marketing, for example, you will get pitched the tracking sheet to track your email marketing effort. And here's what we were doing. And here's the huge difference that it did. This is an experiment that we ran. So we targeted people that visited a Facebook ad related blog post, and we targeted them with 2 different ebooks. One was very specific, the do's and don'ts of Facebook advertising. So totally in line with their interest, with what they were reading on our blog. And the other ebook was about Twitter advertising. And you can see the difference in the cost per lead that we achieved. When targeted with the right information, with the same content they were interested in, the cost was 0.46. With a topic that was different from the blog post, it got up to $3.12. So always try to match it, and it's super simple. This is Pixel Caffeine. If you're using WordPress, you just insert the name of your custom audience, special filter, special filter, and then, okay. And then you just say, hey, I want to create an audience based on blog behavior, categories, and then you pick your WordPress category. So super simple. Next, speed is extremely important. And there are 2 kinds of speed when advertising on Facebook. The first speed is how short is the time frame between the website visit and the lead generation ad. And next, after they convert on the lead generation ad, how fast you send them an email to tell them, hey, thank you for signing up. We are going to send you a newsletter, set the stage. What you don't want to do is gather thousands of leads and then write them after 3 months, because they will have forgot about you and they are probably going to flag you as spam. Here are some numbers. So this is website custom audience. People that visited the website within 3 days from seeing the lead generation ads had an average cost to get their email of 35 cents. After 14 days, the average cost had already climbed to $2.18 just in 14 days. The more time passes from when they check your blog and remember your brand and when they see your ad, the more it will be expensive. And these are similar data with the decline in open rate based on when the period from when they gave you their email and when you made them. After 3 months, the decline was 23.9%. And we had a lot of emails that were flagged as spam. So be fast. And here, take a screenshot, Zapier, Leads Bridges, Add Espresso, Connect.io are four, and actually Zapier is integrated directly within Facebook, are four tools if you are using Facebook native lead ads that you can use to immediately have the lead from Facebook taken in management and written into your HubSpot, Marketo, whatever CRM you're using, basically. With these tools, you can get data from Facebook, lead ads, and immediately add them to a list in your CRM. Fourth tip, Instagram. Instagram is huge, but so far our experience has been underwhelming. So it looks like Instagram works very well for top of the funnel activities or for selling products that are extremely visual and extremely consumer. But when you are doing lead generation, especially if you're doing lead generation for a B2B activity, the results are ugly, actually. This is an experiment that we ran. Same ad published on Facebook and Instagram. Facebook mobile, our CPA was 0.28. On Instagram, it was 0.88. And this was anyway on a retargeting activity. So we were not targeting total strangers, maybe millennial with some B2B stuff. This was people interested in the topic, people that were reading our blog and retargeted. But lead generation on Instagram is still too much disruptive of the user experience. So unless you have a very consumer product, I would avoid doing lead generation on Instagram. I will disable that placement. The other thing that you can use to do lead generation on Instagram is contest. If you have a consumer product and you are running a contest, very popular, you are giving away iPhones, iPad, that kind of stuff, Instagram can work very well. Otherwise, right now, I will stick with Facebook. Final step, social proof. We tested social proof in any way possible, and the result is always the same. Whatever you can add some kind of social proof to your lead generation ads is going to increase your performances. My best way to do social proof is just adding numbers in the ad. Like 17,348 people downloaded this ebook. It's great social proof. If you don't have big numbers, you can still use social proof with maybe one customer. Hey, Microsoft is using our product. We just got started, but they are already using it. You are going to love it. Any kind of social proof you can add is going to work. Even likes are social proof. So one tactic that you could use, for example, is starting your ad in a country that is super cheap, like South America, East Europe, Asia. Usually there are a lot of cheap countries, and just run the ad there for 2-3 days just to gather a lot of likes. And then run the ad in your main audience, like United States or Europe or wherever you want. It's not a huge difference in likes, but what we saw is that whenever an ad has 300 likes, it's going to perform a bit better than an ad with 0 likes and 0 comments. And then my latest tip, use exact number. This is an experiment we run on 3 different kind of ads. Basically, the first ad has an exact number. 37,238 plus marketer already downloaded this ebook or joined our community. The second ad is 35,000 plus. It still works better than adding no social proof, 2.20 versus 2.48 cost per conversion. But that 35,000 plus, 1 million plus, looks like a number that you made up this morning to create the ad. It looks fake, while the exact number performs much better. Same in this ad, 1.57 for the exact number in the image and the text of the ad, 1.74 for the 15,000 plus people already downloaded this ebook, 2.06 for no social proof. And that's it. 25 minutes, perfect. So let me turn on my camera again and stop the screen sharing.
Awesome. All right, let me get you in here, Massimo, so we can do a
little
Q&A. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. I can hear you perfectly.
All right, awesome. So we got some questions here. We got about 5 minutes for the Q&A. Awesome. Everybody loved it. Jami is saying this has been great information. Okay. Big shout out and round of applause here. And let's dive into questions. Okay. So somebody is asking for the PowerPoint deck. Are you planning to make it available, Massimo? We'll make sure that we'll get it into the hands of the audience.
Sure, I'll send it to you and then you can distribute it. But I don't know what PowerPoint is.
2 versions, Italian and in English one, okay?
Right.
Okay, so let's see here. There's one from Hector. Are you testing by using the Facebook ads A/B test option or by just having several ad variants within one ad set?
Usually the way we are testing right now is one ad set, one ad. That way you can also use Facebook native split testing. It works very well. Sometimes it's overcomplicated. If you are split testing, my suggestion is one ad set, one ad, because this way you can allocate a specific budget to each experiment. If you insert multiple ads in the same ad set, there is Facebook machine learning that will try to pick which ad is the best one and drive most of the impression there. So you won't have reliable data for split testing.
Got it. Makes sense. All right. So there's one question is Facebook still alive? Is it worth investing in Facebook or Instagram? I think you sort of answered the question a little bit, but yeah.
I think it's one of the only 2 really scalable places to advertise. Then there are a lot of other options of niches, but once you reach a certain level of spending, Google and Facebook are the only 2 that really let you reach a worldwide audience.
Yeah, and also I would love to hear your thoughts about Facebook versus LinkedIn. While you're thinking on it, I want to mention to everyone that we do have our 3rd summit of the series. Some of you already attended the Chatbot Summit. This is a growth marketing virtual summit, but January 2019, definitely stay tuned for our social and performance marketing summit, social advertising summit. We'll dive deep into Facebook ads, but we'll also cover LinkedIn, Instagram, PPC as well. Do you have any thoughts on other Facebook versus other major players?
I think it really depends on your product. Overall, LinkedIn is extremely expensive. It's also the only network that has a working capability of targeting by job title or job position or employer. So if you're selling high price ticket or you really need to target a specific buyer within a company, LinkedIn is totally worth it. If you are like a SaaS business and you need to generate 10,000 leads, LinkedIn is a bit expensive.
Makes sense. I'm not sure if I understand this question from Ben. Maybe it relates to a specific point of your presentation. How is data calculated for the increased cost of ads for the more time since a user visited your website?
We created different ad sets playing with website custom audiences. So we had the first custom audience was people that visited the website in the last 3 days. The second ad set was targeting people that visited the website in the last 7 days, excluding people that visited in the last 3 days. So basically we created segments from 0 to 3, from 3 to 7, etc. Which is also a very nice tactic if you want to build like storytelling. Every 4 days you show them a different ad.
Got it. Do you have any best practices? I know that there's a lot of small businesses here and some of the solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, some of the early stage startups, although we have more established companies. But let's say we just brought social advertising agency on board, like a Facebook ads. How do you ensure that they do the right work? Right? What do you recommend? Obviously, you don't have too many resources to manage them on the daily basis, especially maybe some practical tips on how to make sure that attribution is there and you're not pouring your money for nothing.
It's extremely tough. Picking up an agency is probably one of the most complex things in the world. My number 1 recommendation would be to ask them to share the results and the customers that they managed previously. And if you can buy, I don't know, if you can buy by CPA, it's usually a good protection. If you can tell them, I'm paying you $3 per lead, that put the risk on them. On the other side, they are more incentivized to focus on lower cost rather than quality. It's extremely tough. I will give them a small budget to try out and ask them for basically for a trial. Hey, let's start with $500, $1,000. If you can drive me results, then we'll keep working.
Love it. Yeah, I love the incentivize them per acquisition cost, and also the big takeaway here is the hire folks that you trust rather than micromanage them, right, all the time.
Yeah, I mean, referral is always the best way to hire an agency.
Excellent. So unfortunately, it's time for us to take our virtual lunch break, and it's time for us to let you, Massimo, go. And I know it's too late already, and in Milan. So, did you have a dinner yet? Any dinner plans? Or?
No, not yet. Here in Italy, it's like 8 p.m. usually dinner time.
Got it. Okay, so we'll let you get back to your dinner, and thank you so much for joining us today. What would be the best way to reach you for any additional questions?
You can reach me on Twitter, Massimo CW, or just search for Massimo Chiaruzzi. Or you can shoot me an email at massimo@adespresso.com. But my email inbox is very flooded, so usually Twitter is easier.
Excellent.
Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely.
And congratulations on setting up this amazing conference.
Thanks, Massimo. Thank you very much. And just a quick reminder before we go into a virtual lunch break here. So if you haven't picked up All Access Pass, it's definitely worth it. Brought to you by Global Marketing Conference and Mobile Monkey. You will get a heavily discounted subscription to the Mobile Monkey Pro for just a tiny fraction of what it's really worth. Plus all of the video recordings from today's summit, as well as special discounts from our partners, including 30% discount to the Growth Marketing Conference. You can get it all by clicking on the green button here. And yeah, I'm very excited to our sessions coming up. We have Larry. Looks like Larry here is in the chat right now, just joined us. He'll be coming on after the lunch break, after 2 more sessions with his brand new presentation on lead generation hacks, and as well as the Q&A. We have the full hour for Larry, so stay tuned for that. We'll take a quick break, and we'll see you at the next session very soon.